Alright, so my Pathfinder campaign is over. And what I mean by that is, it's no longer Pathfinder. We decided to convert everyone over to D&D 5th edition. We did play on Saturday, and I think it went pretty well. Started off as the players were walking into Sandstrom, and they walked by a mysterious roguish figure, which happened to be my wife's new character, because she doesn't want to play her sorcerer anymore because she's already got a sorcerer for 5th edition with another campaign. So, which all the players were fine with that. So we converted, before all that, we converted everyone's character over except for her. She made a new character right there at the table. And I think everybody was excited about the new 5th edition player's handbook and things like that. So, anyway, so we started playing. Walked into the city, they walked by my wife's new character, they went to a tavern quickly to get information. My wife's character did walk in, I believe. Maybe she didn't walk in. And they got some information, paid a barkeeper, or the barkeep, or the owner of the, I think it was called the Sea Maid Inn. So, did that, and then left and went and found where the drow was that stole the fighter's greatsword and then sold it. They found out his code name was Robin Dark. Now, they made the correlation to Robin Hood. I came up with the name because they were robbed during the dark, at nighttime when they were sleeping. So, correlation's there. Anyways, they found out that he, much like Robin Hood, well, first of all, they beat up a bunch of his poor minions outside. I used the thug from the monster manual, because they're pretty formidable. But yeah, so they beat up like, well, they were fighting 7 or 8 of them. The NPC of my wife's old character was dropped. Players managed to bring her back with a couple healing and successful save rolls. And then the players dropped one of the poor minions, basically, for the Robin Dark. After they dropped him, Robin Dark and 3 of his dual-wielding henchmen, basically, came out and said stop, and then came up with a truce. The truce was, basically, they're not going to get their money back because he doesn't have it, because he bought a bunch of food for all the poor people in this part of town. But he said he wouldn't steal from them anymore, and he could get them to a guy with information about some items they had. But in return, they had to escort about 20 poor people to a drop-off point so they could go live a better life, basically. The players agreed hesitantly, and so they went to the drop-off point, which is where the outcasts were. So I commingled my online game with my at-home game. And so the outcasts were there, took the 20 people and took them back to the sanctuary, the place where the outcasts' developments were. So anyway, so they did that. But then the players didn't even want to socialize with them, so they didn't find anything out. And then they went back to Sandstrom, got their information about their 2 items, which they found out their arrow to the Temple of Elementals. Well, the Temple of Elementals is at Pine Run Point, and they needed to have climbing gear to get to the top of Pine Run Point. My wife told me afterwards I made it sound like they're not high enough level to handle what's in this place. I didn't mean it that way. I just meant you aren't high enough level to climb to Pine Run Point without climbing gear. Sorry about that. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, so then they found that out. They also found out what the Petrified Tongue was for, and found out that this god that had been torn apart and strewn about the world also had split personalities. He was a cleric of life and a wizard of necromancy. So, and each personality was different. So one was good with the life necromancy, or cleric of life, and the other personality was evil, wizard of necromancy. Boom. So that's what they know about this god. Then, after that, they decided that they wanted to go find out why there were fire beetles in the woods. They're interested now. Oh, they also learned from this wizard at Sandstrom that the Robin Dark set them up with. They also learned that they could fix the fighter's vocal cord problem by getting vampire bone dust. But by doing that, they couldn't really kill the vampire with like a stake through the heart or anything like that, because basically the vampire will disappear, will disintegrate into nothingness. So they were told to capture a vampire, basically, to bring him back, or some alternate means to get bone dust to this wizard for whatever reason. So anyways, and that he would be able to heal the fighter then, so he could then talk. So after that, they decided they wanted to check out the fire beetles and all that stuff, so they got a little more information about that. They tried to find out more about where the vampires were. Don't know. They didn't figure out anything. They got into Pine Run to find out that there's big men that are now serving the militia. They have about 25 militiamen. They talked to Hunter Dark, and then they went and decided at the end of the session we were going to check out the bounty board to try and get some money because they are almost wiped clean. So that's where we left off. They're looking at the bounty board, trying to figure out what they want to do, and I think they said they were going to seek out the murderer or the kidnapper. I can't remember. The murderer was like 1,000 gold, I believe. And so that's what they're going to seek out, is this 1,000 gold reward from the bounty board. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that next time, and yeah, I hope they're having fun. I'm enjoying it. I like my wife's new character. She, after the Robin Dark initial meeting in the alleyway, that's when my wife's character asked if she could go along with them, and then she went to the drop-off point and all that. So she's now with the party, and then her former character is an NPC right now who is still with the party. So yeah, that's where that stands, and I really look forward to seeing how this all develops. It seems like they're finally starting to take the seeds I've given them over time. They did ask if anything was going on in Pine Run because I hinted that some things had happened there, but they didn't actually get any information yet on that. Just that they were basically fortifying and getting ready for war, kind of deal.